So, yeah, I thought today we could dive into something dealing with self-concept, which seems obviously relevant given that the SP and self-concept course that I'm teaching starts October 17th. If you're watching this when it just comes out, it will be tomorrow. And if you want to join us for that, you are welcome to. The information will be below. You can email me at info@radicalcounselor.com if you want to join us for the SP and self-concept course. So yeah, let's talk about self-concept some, but I want to put it in context because yesterday, or the last video, I think it came out yesterday that I posted. I'll put a link above to it. Gives you one side of the coin, and this video is going to kind of give you the other side of the coin when it comes to a lot of this stuff in terms of implementing techniques and how techniques relate to your self-concept. Yesterday's video, I was surprised that I posted it and then I looked several hours later. It's I like to see how it's doing, if how people are responding to it. And the comments were really like, why is this guy so negative? Meaning Tim. Why am I so negative all the time? Why am I always pointing out problems all the time? The problem is you're creating problems. It was one of these things where all the comments were negative. And it goes to show you again why you can't really trust YouTube commenters as a barometer of content. But I think it's worth addressing that point here in relation to self-concept. First of all, if you think what we're talking about on this channel is negative, like if you're coming, I assume a lot of these people commenting about how this is negative, what we're discussing, are coming from like the online SP community, Sammy Ingram community, whatever. Just don't watch my videos, please. If you don't want the bitter medicine with the tasty medicine, just don't watch the videos, for gosh sakes. If you really think I'm negative and then I'm criticizing Emile Coué, for instance, which is what yesterday's video was about, this is not the channel for you. Okay? This is very important when it comes to self-concept. And this is, again, something we're going to go over in the course. You have to soberly, in my opinion, look at your situation and look how these techniques work in your life, how you're implementing various techniques, whatever the techniques are. Because what the last few videos the content of the last few videos have basically been about how it's not about a specific technique. It's about you. You ultimately are the technique. That's your self-concept is your technique. Who you are is your technique. That's what's important, is bringing that out. So when I hear stuff like, Tim, you're being negative about, affirmations or autosuggestion, these people are not being serious about these concepts, in my opinion. You really think I'm being negative here when I'm pointing out that most of this stuff does not work for most people? It doesn't. Affirmations don't work well for most people. That's not the problem. That's not a major fault of the teacher at all. Or, it's not the fault of Neville that like his techniques don't work for everybody, or Joseph Murphy, or whoever you like. It's a fault of it's just not fitting your sensibility. And then you move on and find something else that works. That's what's important. The truth of the matter is affirmations, autosuggestion, the way the Coué advised people to do it doesn't effectively work the way he said for the vast majority of people, unfortunately. I wish it did, but it doesn't. This is called being sober and looking at stuff, critically, which is how we analyze and get better at implementing this stuff in our life. It's very, very important. You go to this online manifesting space and people just blindly assume that the techniques work and everything's going to be fine. And that's great. And it can, for some of you, will work that way, at least for a while. And hopefully long term, you really take to a technique like affirming, robotic affirming, and that's it. But, I've spoken to 2 people in the last week that had people they knew. One committed suicide, and the other person basically is suicidal because they were unable to get these techniques to work for them. That's what you don't hear these LOA influencers talking about that I know about. And if you do this stuff, if you really get into this long enough, you realize there's a yin and a yang to all of it. You got to find balance. And you have to prioritize yourself, your self-concept over any specific technique or teacher. You can't put any teacher on a pedestal. These teachers, generally speaking, the good ones that we always talk about, they don't want to be put on a pedestal. As Neville said, they want you to test it out to see if it works for you. But, the underlying theme of all the advice I share is that you're already okay. You're already okay. I'm very consistent in delivering that as my message to you. You are already okay. And not only are you already okay, you're better than okay. When you really inwardly become still, even if it's just for a moment, even just for an instant, when you really inwardly become still, and that self-recognition hits of what you actually are, you're perfect right now. You truly are God. You are your SP. Right now, there's nothing else. There's nothing out there to manifest. You are already it. Perfect. I talk about this in my books a lot. My podcast basically is all about this. When we get present, when all the chatter in our mind fades away or stops, even just for an instant, we see. We see that. And what's interesting is by doing this, which we can always do, and there's no pressure because it's always here. This peace, God, if you want to call it that, or you can call it the universe or whatever you want. It's always here. It's always here. We just usually don't recognize it. That, in my opinion, transcends any technique. That's like the tree. And the techniques are just branches coming off from the tree that you can utilize. You can utilize the branches, but the tree's always here. The tree is what you really are. The tree is your real self-concept. It's this moment now. Perfect. You are perfect. You are perfect. And what's interesting is, if we recognize this, what our self-concept truly is, peace, love, health, abundance right now, which is what this is. When we recognize this more and make it more of like a continual thing to do, and there's no pressure to do it, but we can do it. When we do this, other things in our life start to improve often. And this is in part because simply our self-concept is improving. So if you recognize this more, that you're already okay right now, that you're always okay in some strange, unexplainable way, this peace is, you're fine. This is the peace that passeth understanding. We may feel like crap, our head may be spinning, we may feel totally out of control, but still this is here. When you recognize that more, And then let's say you do want a romantic partner. It's easier for that romantic partner to show up because you've recognized this more, what you are. And then you can use techniques. You can use some of those branches from the tree to attract the partner, whether it be affirmations or journaling or visualization or what have you. But no matter what you're using, whatever branches are reaching out from the tree's always there. You always are the tree. You always are you in the best sense, which is peace, harmony, love. And this isn't esoteric bullshit. It might sound like esoteric bullshit, but it's here. We don't have to necessarily be meditative to notice it. Like in The Joy of Not Thinking, I talk about this all the time, like moving around. If you move a lot around or are playful, get really active, or listen to loud music or what have you, and are really active physically, all of a sudden something inside of you might become still. And that's recognizing you, the tree. There the whole time. You're already fine. That's the real recognition, manifestation of life in a way. The other stuff, the external stuff, tends to happen from it. And you can focus more on the external stuff if you want to get the external stuff. I get that. But none of the external, stuff, the techniques, have a 100% success rate for everybody. They're techniques. What has a 100% success rate is you. Recognizing you, recognizing the tree, recognizing the peace that you already are. So that's what I'm always sharing, right? If you're new here, if you're coming from, watching some of my videos about affirmations, which in my opinion, we cover in more detail than basically any other channel on YouTube, especially when it relates to the stuff that Emile Coué talks about. If you're coming from that and you're like, what is this guy talking about? Or why is he so negative? It's because it's in the context of this right now, which is perfect. That's the deeper stuff that we're always trying to touch upon. And what's great is we don't have to touch upon it. It's just here. But if we recognize it more, our life gets better. It's like, Joel Goldsmith gives the great example of electricity, and I think other LOA teachers probably have used this example before as well. I've heard it elsewhere, I think. Electricity was always there, but it was no use to us until we recognized it, right? And then we could utilize it. And that's like a lot of these manifesting principles. But when you recognize the peace that you are, it's always here. And from there, you can associate it with getting more of what you want in your life, improving the lives of others, and the branches come out. But recognize the peace that you already are first, in my opinion. That always is just a very fulfilling way to go about implementing these ideas and just to live your life more peacefully and more contently. So I hope this was helpful. If you want to join us for the SP and Self-Concept course, the information is below. For coaching, one-on-one coaching, I can be reached at radicalcounselor.com. Until next time.